Hello everyone, welcome to the University of Wisconsin-Milwaukee's MSW New Student Orientation for Fall of 2020. My name is Matt Steigerwald, and I'm the MSW Senior Advisor. Please feel free to take down my email address and contact me with any questions that you may have after viewing this presentation. I'm happy to help with whatever I can. During this presentation, you will also be hearing from Amy Kirby, who is the MSW Program Coordinator. Either one of us would be able to help you find whatever information you need as you navigate your way through your time as an MSW student. First off, let me welcome you to UWM. We are thrilled that you'll be joining us to further your studies in the field of social work. This orientation will cover a variety of helpful pieces of information that will allow you to adjust to life as a UWM graduate student. We'll talk about how to access support and advising help, how to maintain a balance between school, work, and your daily life. We'll be discussing tuition, financial aid, parking, registering for courses, the field placement process, and much more. It might be helpful to take notes and jot down helpful bits of information as you hear them. Let's get started. Students come into our MSW program with a variety of educational backgrounds and levels of professional experience. Some of you were undergraduate students here at UWM, and some of you will be attending for the first time as an MSW student. If you have an accredited BSW or bachelor's degree in social work, and that degree was earned within the last 5 years, you will start as an advanced standing student. If you have a bachelor's degree in something other than social work, or if your BSW is older than 5 years, you will start our program as a foundation student. This is based on guidance laid out by the Council on Social Work Education, or CSWE. CSWE is the body that accredits the MSW program. Some of you will plan on attending on a full-time basis, and others will prefer to be a part-time student, as you may have other important responsibilities such as work or family life. In our MSW program, you can choose to be either a part-time student or a full-time student, and you can change that course load from one semester to the next. We understand that life changes quickly sometimes, and it's important to have flexibility. Of course, if you decide to change your course plan, we always recommend that you seek out advising help. It's crucial to make sure that you aren't making changes to your course plan that will cause you problems later on in the program. Students also choose from a variety of concentration areas that we will discuss in more detail later on. If you don't know which concentration area interests you most just yet, don't worry. You can always speak to an advisor for help making this decision. In case you are wondering where you fit in the greater university as a social work student, the social work department is a part of the Helen Bader School of Social Welfare, or HBSSW. HBSSW houses both the social work department and criminal justice department. Each department has a bachelor's degree and a master's degree. Some of you may even be enrolled in the coordinated program and working towards a master's degree in each discipline. HBSSW also has a PhD program that combines elements of both disciplines. The graduate school is also a separate entity here at UWM. The graduate school sets certain rules and policies that apply to all of the different master's degrees on campus. That means that your time as a student here is governed by requirements from both the social work department and the graduate school. Should you ever have any questions about this, please feel free to ask. We're here to help. This also means that your dean, for most purposes, will be Dean Maria, who is the dean of the graduate school. Should you run into a situation where you require a dean's signature, it will most often be referring to Dean Maria. But don't worry, if that happens and you are unsure who to go to, we will always be here to help you through the process. Starting in fall of 2020, the dean for the Helen Bader School of Social Welfare will be Tina Freiberger. Next, let's go over some common questions that you may have. It's very likely that this will bring to mind questions you hadn't even considered yet. Again, jotting down these questions can be very helpful. Student support and advising are very important pieces of your success in the MSW program. It's true that we are a large program, and in many ways that is a big strength. We also put a great deal of effort into making sure that you have the support that you need. There are many faculty and staff who are here to help you. As I mentioned previously, I'm the MSW Senior Advisor, and I am here to help with whatever I can. If your question is something that I can't answer directly, I will find out who can help you and point you in the right direction. All course planning will either be done through me or through my MSW Advising Project Assistant. If you need help with advising, please reach out to the email address you see on the screen, msw-advising@uwm.edu. You will also be assigned to a faculty advisor in the near future. The faculty advisor is there to help if you have questions related to professional development or other related topics. You aren't required to meet with your faculty advisor, and as I mentioned, they do not plan your courses for you, but they serve as one more resource should you have questions. Your field liaison is someone you will meet with when you start the field placement process. They will help you find your placement, and they will work with you throughout that placement. Your field liaison can be an incredible resource. While you are working in your field placement, you will also have a field instructor. That's the person in your field agency who acts as your supervisor. In addition, you will have many course instructors who are both faculty here at UWM and who are adjunct instructors working in the field. Furthermore, you will interact with numerous other faculty and staff. Please don't hesitate to introduce yourself to any of them. Finally, while we always want to be here to help, sometimes you will be able to find the answers quickly yourself on our website. There is the MSW New Admit webpage, which you received in an email when you were accepted into the program. There are many links available on that page. On that page, and also on our main MSW website, you will find the MSW Handbook, which is an excellent resource. Since it's a PDF document, it's also searchable if you are looking for something specific.
Hi everyone, this is Amy Kirby. I serve as the MSW Program Coordinator here at UWM. In addition to Matt and the advising team, I can also serve as a resource for any of you regarding all things MSW. I want to take a few moments to speak to some really important considerations for entering into graduate school. Here we look at the concepts of school, work, life balance. Finding this balance as a graduate student can be quite difficult. It's a pretty tall order, but creating some semblance of it will be important for you. We know that you all have other things going on in your lives, jobs, significant others, family, friends, people who depend on you, hobbies, interests. Graduate studies will become a very big part of your life for the next year to few years. We ask that you think in advance about how you will integrate all of the things that are important to you and still be able to be a successful, productive graduate student during this time. Graduate school is temporary, but some days it will seem to last a lifetime. One feature of our curriculum that you should keep in mind as you seek to create some balance is that you are not locked in to only being a full-time or only a part-time student in our program. For instance, you may begin the program as a full-time student and decide to go down to part-time credit level in a future semester, and then even go back up again in yet another semester down the line if needed. Just be sure with any shifts that you make, you always check in with an advisor and update your course plan so that you may be fully informed about how any decisions you make impact your overall plan and the time to degree. The most significant impact to your work, school, life balance comes with the intense requirements of an MSW degree for field placement or internship. There are 2 additional orientation modules specific to field placement, so I won't go into all of the details here. However, you do need to know that completing your field placement experience adds an extra layer of complexity to being a student. In short, field placement will require 3 to 4 semesters of 16 to 20 hours a week of your time involved in social work practice at your field placement site, generally during standard business hours each week. Please consider how you will integrate this requirement into your life. Throughout all of this, self-care will be critical. Part of self-care will be to make decisions and set priorities for your time as a graduate student. Learning these skills now will be important to a future in social work practice, where self-care will continue to be an important consideration for the longevity of your social work career. Part of self-care during your time as a graduate student is to help you strive for personal well-being while in graduate school and beyond. Issues of students' personal well-being are the #1 disruption to a person's graduate school success that I see each semester. In my role, I work with students who experience hardships related to health, mental health, family issues, financial issues, etc., that impact their ability to fully participate in their graduate studies and field experiences. My advice to you is this: be realistic. Be honest with yourself about how much you can take on and be successful with. I so often hear from students who really have the best of intentions about what they are going to take on, and they place great pressures on themselves about what they can achieve, only to later find out that it was too much, and then they are faced with new sets of tough decisions or negative outcomes to the semester from which they have to work even harder to come back. Be proactive. If challenges arise, consider early and often if the challenges will impact your success as a graduate student. In being proactive, we ask that you communicate with your instructors, field liaisons, and any other relevant faculty and staff. Sometimes with advanced communication and a little heads up, this is happening in my life, some adjustments can be allowed to support your success. If the challenges are beyond something that simple adjustments can solve, the earlier you communicate with someone, the more opportunities there may be for making more significant adjustments without much penalty to you. The longer a student waits out challenges, either trying to avoid having to acknowledge them or not wanting to admit that things are really too much, the tougher it gets to find a solution to protect your graduate student status. When communicating about challenges, we do not need to know all of the details of your business. However, some facts and a sense of what your challenges are can go a long way to helping us help you. To be the best informed in these circumstances, you may always feel free to start with Matt Steigerwald or myself for advice in these situations as they impact your graduate school career. Besides Matt, me, and our other faculty and staff, there are other resources on campus that may be useful for you to be proactive to find support and guidance. The Accessibility Resource Center here at UWM is available if you have documented needs related to health, mental health, or physical accessibility needs. Counseling and mental health, stress, or crisis support is available at the University Counseling Services of the UWM Norris Student Health Center. There is a food pantry on campus in the Union, and the Dean of Students' Office can be a resource for times when you are faced with economic challenges. You at UWM is a new online resource related to all of what I just mentioned and more as you set goals and seek support in your time as a student at UWM. This is graduate school. The threshold for success is higher than it was as an undergrad. Graduate students must maintain an average of a B or better, or what equates to 3.0 at all times, or else risk not being able to continue as a graduate student. And last but definitely not least is that as a social work student and a social work professional, you will be held to a high standard of professional competence while at the same time being human. In practice, you will be called upon to be a solid and stable professional, the kind that you would feel comfortable treating your child, or ensuring proper care for your grandmother, or supporting your spouse through a mental health episode, or assisting your best friend through their experience of trauma, or selecting foster parents for your cousin, etc. In the end, we can't be what clients need us to be if our own well-being doesn't come first. Okay, enough on that. Back to the other details of the MSW program.
Let's talk a little bit about financial aid. First, let me start by pointing out the contact information for the financial aid office. They really are the experts when it comes to specific questions about aid. As you can see, we have their phone number and website listed. Please don't hesitate to reach out to them. They're very helpful. It's also worth noting that financial aid is the main way that students finance their MSW degree. I have heard a misconception from students in the past that FAFSA or Federal Student Aid is not available to graduate students, and that is not the case. You can apply for federal student aid in graduate school just like you would have done in your undergraduate degree. We have very few assistantships available to our students, and when they do become available, they are highly sought after, making them very competitive. It's wise to not assume that you will be able to find an assistantship to fund your graduate degree. When these positions do become available, we send the information out to students through an email. There are also some scholarships available through the Helen Bader School of Social Welfare. The application period is in early February, so they have closed for the 2020-2021 school year. If you are still in the program next year, however, you can certainly apply for scholarships at that time. Finally, the graduate school does have some fellowships available, but like the scholarships that I just mentioned, that application window has also closed. Students will understandably ask about how much tuition will cost for the duration of their degree. That can be a tricky question to answer, so let's talk about it in some more detail. As a public university, our tuition is set by a state legislative process. That means that we never know with any level of certainty exactly how much our tuition will be until right before the semester itself begins. For the current semester, which is spring 2020, full-time tuition for a Wisconsin resident is $6,024.93. That means if a student is taking 8 or more credits in the current semester and they are determined to be a resident of the state of Wisconsin, they are paying this amount. A non-resident is paying $12,641.17. I'll show you a table on the next slide that will go into some more detail on how tuition works on a per credit basis. Now, these tuition numbers represent the spring 2020 semester. Like I said, we don't know yet what tuition will be for fall of 2020, and as I mentioned earlier, we likely won't know that until closer to the fall term beginning. I can tell you that historically speaking, the tuition doesn't tend to vary greatly from one semester to the next. I can also tell you that summer tuition is generally slightly less expensive than fall or spring, and the vast majority of our students attend classes in all 3 semesters. For more information, you can also refer to the website pictured here. Here you will see some more detail about the spring 2020 tuition that we just discussed. You'll notice that the left column on this table shows the number of credits a student is currently taking. The next column shows the amount a Wisconsin resident would pay in tuition if they were signed up for that number of credits. As you take more credits, the tuition goes up, but the increase in tuition is not directly proportional to the number of credits you take. 2 credits does not cost 2 times what 1 credit costs. Also, you'll see that the table does not go beyond 8 credits. That is because 8 credits is considered full-time in graduate school, and any credits you take beyond 8 credits do not result in additional tuition. In the summer, that number is 9 credits, but even taking 9 credits in the summer is less expensive than taking 8 credits in the spring or fall. All that to say that while we do advocate for students to not take on more than they can handle in a given semester, it is financially advantageous to move through the program faster. If you are an advanced standing student, for example, meaning that you've earned a bachelor's degree in social work within 5 years of beginning the MSW program, you can finish the program in as little as 3 semesters, which would be fall, spring, and summer. In doing so, you would be taking somewhere between 10 and 12 credits in each semester, and you would only be paying for 8 of those credits in the fall or the spring, 9 credits in the summertime. It is important to weigh your part-time or full-time status decision carefully and not to make that decision based solely on this information. Keep in mind that graduate studies can be more rigorous and demanding than undergraduate studies. On this table, you will also notice the far right column labeled segregated fees. This represents an amount that all students are charged when they take courses at UWM. The money goes toward various services on campus that students are able to access. That number is already factored into the earlier columns. It's not in addition to those numbers. One reason why tuition is less expensive in the summer is that not all services are offered, resulting in lower segregated fees. Also of note, you'll see a column labeled Midwest Student Exchange. For students who are residents of some surrounding states, they may be eligible to pay no more than 150% of what a Wisconsin student would pay. For a list of those states and for more up-to-date information, I recommend that you Google UWM Midwest Student Exchange. You should find that information pretty quickly on a UWM website that will go into more detail. Finally, students often ask about what determines whether they are a Wisconsin resident or a resident of another state. In your MSW application, you would have completed something called the Residency Tuition Evaluation. If you didn't fully complete that portion of your application, I recommend that you look into it as soon as you can, because not completing it can make it so that you aren't able to register for courses in the upcoming semester. This evaluation uses a number of questions to determine your residency for tuition purposes. The social work department does not have any involvement in how this is determined. If after completing this evaluation you feel that your residency was determined improperly, I suggest you contact a residency specialist at the following phone number. That number is 414-229-4672. Again, the phone number is 414-229-4672. Given that we are a larger urban university, parking on campus can sometimes be a bit tricky. In order to make things a little easier for students, there are some options available. First, I highly recommend visiting the transportation website listed here to find up-to-date information on parking. There is a shuttle service available to students where students can park off campus and be shuttled to campus. On the transportation website, you should be able to find location information and scheduling. Many students take advantage of this option. It is important, however, to pay close attention not only to the time that you can arrive on campus prior to class, but also to the time when class ends and ensure that you can still catch a shuttle back to your car after class. As a UWM student, you also have access to obtain a Milwaukee Public Transit bus pass free of charge. Having this bus pass can make it significantly easier to park in one location and ride to campus. Again, you will find that information on the transportation website. Finally, there is some parking available on campus, either through parking ramps or metered street parking. There are certain apps available where students can pay their parking meter fee from their smartphone. Some students have also been able to locate free street parking within walking distance of campus. Keep in mind that this street parking is often time limited and it's also in high demand. It's also worth noting that parking tends to be more difficult earlier in the semester, and as time passes, things tend to settle down a bit. My biggest piece of advice is to plan ahead and allow yourself enough time to get to class, especially as you get the hang of parking early on in the semester. Shortly after you were accepted into the MSW program, you should have received a letter from the graduate school giving you information related to activating your PAWS account. PAWS is our online student portal that you will use for a number of different things, including registering for classes. If for some reason you cannot access PAWS or can't find that information, you can contact the Tech Help phone number listed here, 414-229-4040. You'll need access to PAWS in order to sign up for your classes. The best way to get guidance on how this works is to access the PAWS Help resources. You can easily get to these resources from the PAWS login screen. As you can see here, there is a link toward the top of the screen that reads Students. Once you click on that link, you will be taken to some step-by-step directions. One important hint that I want to mention is when you search for courses in PAWS, there is a checkbox that limits your search results to courses that have empty seats available. I recommend unchecking that box so you can see all course sections, even if that particular course section is full. The easiest way to search through the available classes for a given semester is to use UWM's course search website. You'll see that link listed here on the slide. Once you're at this site, the search function is fairly easy to navigate. You can select the semester you're looking to search, for example, fall of 2020. Then for the subject, select social work. Finally, select graduate. This will pull up a list of available graduate courses for that particular semester. You will notice that some courses have the letter G after the course number. This is because certain courses are available for undergraduate students and graduate students. When there's a course listed without a G and the same number listed with the G, always choose the one with the G. Classes that are graduate only will not have that G listed after the number. If you have a course in your course plan that is full for that particular semester, please add yourself to the waitlist. I can't emphasize this enough. There are a number of reasons why you'll want to use the waitlist. First, it's common for schedules to shift around a little bit, for students in a section to drop that class for whatever reason, and then when that happens, you may find yourself naturally shifted into the class that you originally wanted. Also, we monitor the waitlist, and depending on the circumstances, we may decide to add additional capacity to a given class, or we may decide to add additional sections for that class. But we can't do any of this if we don't have an accurate idea of what the demand is for each course. So please add yourself to the waitlist if you need a class. It's very helpful for us and for you. Fall registration is now open, so you can go into PAWS and begin signing up for courses. As I mentioned earlier, if you need help establishing a course plan, please email msw-advising@uwm.edu. If you are unable to enroll in classes, there are a couple of potential reasons for that. One of the most common is that you may have a hold on your account, and the most likely cause for new students is the credit agreement. Each new student needs to complete the credit agreement, which is essentially an agreement that you will be financially accountable for credits that you take. It's very easy to complete, and you can access it through the holds box in PAWS. This particular hold, and all other holds, give you clear direction on what must be done to remove them by clicking on the hyperlink. Please be sure to check this holds box in your pause account to make sure you remove anything listed so that you can register for courses. When you are able to enroll in classes, you will see an enrollment appointment listed in your pause account. The enrollment appointment is the date and time that you can begin registering for courses, not necessarily the only time that you have available to register for courses. One main reason you might not see an enrollment appointment in your pause account is related to your successful completion of the residency calculator in your grad school application. There is a section of the application that asks you questions all about your residency in order to determine how much tuition you'll pay. If you don't successfully complete all required questions, you can't enroll in courses. Please check your email, including spam folders, to see if you were sent instructions on completing this. If you still can't figure it out, you are able to email gradschool-staff@uwm.edu for further guidance. I mentioned earlier that you will receive a letter from the graduate school to get you started logging into Pause. That letter will also contain your student ID number. Your student ID is a 9-digit number, and you may be asked from time to time to provide that for various services on campus. You'll also need to obtain your ePanther ID. Now, the ePanther ID is the first part of your UWM email address. It's usually a portion of your last name, perhaps with a number at the end. This is what you'll use to log into UWM web services, such as email. Finally, once you are able to come to campus physically, you can obtain a student ID card. This is the card that you'll use to access things like the library, the gym. You'll use it to ride the bus, to name a few examples. You can obtain your ID card in room 143 of the Student Union. Here are a few tips, hints, and pieces of advice for graduate school. First, keep all of your syllabi. I routinely get calls from students asking for a copy of a syllabus for a class they took maybe 10 or more years ago. If you're wondering why students need their syllabi after so much time, it's usually related to credentialing and licensing. Even if you finish school and get licensed right away to practice as a social worker in Wisconsin, you may end up moving to New York someday or Minnesota, and different states have different licensing requirements. They may ask you to prove the content of your psychopathology course from 15 years prior, and without the syllabus, that will be very difficult to do. So please keep every syllabus. Save them electronically so you can access them easily in the future. Be proactive and plan ahead. This is true in many facets of your schooling, but it's also true as it relates to course planning and seeking help from faculty and staff. If you seek out help early on, you will get your answers faster, and you'll be in a good position when it comes time to sign up for courses each semester or to know when a particular assignment is due. Also, please be patient. I get a great deal of questions right around this time when registration opens up, so if you're waiting until that time to ask questions, please know that my response may be a little bit limited. Ask questions. It's important to be informed and know what is expected. If you have questions about expectations or your professional goals or licensing or any other number of things related to your career, please ask. Also, I mentioned earlier that many answers can be found in the MSW handbook and on our website, so checking there first is usually your most efficient way to get answers. Work together and develop relationships. The social work community can be a small one. Many of your fellow classmates are people that you will see later on in your professional life. I've experienced this a number of times in my own professional life. So, build those relationships. Use each other for support. It's important. Also, you will find that you can build good professional relationships with instructors and your field supervisors. Making those professional connections is always a good thing. Finally, check your email, please. This is very important. You will find that we communicate a plethora of useful information to students through your uwm.edu email address. If you like, you can set that email to forward to your personal account, but please check your email. If you don't, you'll miss out on things like job opportunities, important information from instructors, information from your field staff, and countless other things. I know that sometimes the number of emails can seem a little bit overwhelming, so we work to make sure we aren't sending out too much. Therefore, the things that we do send tend to be important things. Another useful piece of information is understanding how financial aid works for summer courses. By default, financial aid assumes you are attending school in the fall and the spring, not the summer. Therefore, and this is purely an example, so don't focus on the actual number, but if you were awarded $15,000 for the academic year, the default will be to award $7,500 in the fall and $7,500 in the spring, with no aid being applied to the summer. Since most of our students attend classes year-round, You'll want to contact the financial aid folks and let them know that you plan to take summer classes so that the aid can be spread evenly across all semesters. In our example of $15,000, $5,000 would be applied in fall, $5,000 in spring, and $5,000 in summer. Some of your courses will require you to purchase textbooks. If you'd like to locate the books required for your courses, you can do so by visiting uwm.ecampus.com. Here you will be able to search for the term you need, the subject, the course, and the particular section that you're enrolled in. Once you locate the exact books you'll need, you can either choose to purchase them through that site or wherever else you'd like to purchase or rent books. Many students prefer to use online retailers. Many of our students also choose to complete certificates along with their MSW. We'll cover the certificates in a little bit more detail in just a bit, but if you are one of those students, please note that you will need to apply for the certificate in Panthera, which is the same system that you used to apply for the MSW. Further, when you apply to graduate from the MSW program, you will need to apply to graduate from the certificate as well. Speaking of graduation, it's important to recognize that graduation and commencement are two different things. When we say commencement, we're referring to the ceremony where you walk across the stage. Graduation, however, is when you are about to start your last semester and you go into pause to notify us that you intend to graduate and complete your degree requirements. Once you do that, it starts the process of the graduate school confirming that you've completed everything you need to complete. I know it will be a bit before you finish the program and get to that point, but please try and remember this distinction. Applying for one does not automatically mean that you are applying for the other. Oh, and at the risk of belaboring this point, please read your emails. Let's finish up by talking just a bit about the MSW curriculum. As I mentioned earlier in the presentation, you will enter our program as either a foundation student or as an advanced standing student. Students who have a bachelor's degree in social work that was earned within the last 5 years will start as advanced standing, while students of all other undergraduate majors or somebody who has earned a BSW but that BSW is older than 5 years must begin as a foundation student. The advanced standing curriculum is 34 credits, while the foundation curriculum is 56 credits. When you chat with an advisor to get your course plan established, you will be asked to choose a concentration. Please be aware that the concentration you choose is nothing to lose any sleep over. Some students are sure from the start which interests them the most, while others have a difficult time deciding. If you are having a hard time deciding, please reach out to me for help. I can talk you through this. It's important to note that at the end of the day, an MSW is an MSW regardless of the concentration you choose. One of the beauties of having an MSW is that it's a very versatile degree. Choosing children and families, for example, does not limit you to working with that population for the duration of your career. The 5 options we have available are as follows: physical health, behavioral health and mental health, gerontology, children and families, and community organizational leadership, which is commonly referred to as macro. Students may also choose a double concentration option. The double concentration would pair any of those first 4 listed with the final one, community organizational leadership. For students who want to do macro practice at some point, but also have an interest in direct practice social work, this is a really great option. I mentioned on the previous slide that the MSW is versatile and your concentration is not a decision to worry too much about. That's definitely true, but there may be a couple of exceptions to that. On the right-hand side of this slide, you'll see a couple of additional course plans that we offer. The first is school social work. If you intend on being a school social worker, you would be wise to choose this track right now. School social workers are licensed by the Department of Public Instruction, or DPI, like a teacher, and we have created a course plan specifically to meet those DPI requirements so that you can have the educational requirements all taken care of at the time of graduation. If you complete your MSW without taking the school social work track and then decide later on that you'd like to be a school social worker, you'll need to come back and complete some additional courses. It's wiser to just do it now if that's a career goal that interests you. The other additional course plan we offer is Substance Abuse Counseling, or SAC. The SAC course plan, similar to school social work, has a specific course plan created to meet the state's educational requirements so that you can work towards certification as a substance abuse counselor. If you know that this is in your plans, you would be wise to choose that course plan now. In addition to the MSW, we also offer some optional graduate certificates that you'll see here on the left-hand side of this slide. Students have the option to pair their MSW with these certificates to enhance their education and obtain coursework in certain specialized areas. Students can complete these certificates without being an MSW student, but by doing them as an MSW student, there are some benefits. First off, certificates do require extra courses and will add about an extra semester of work to your degree. However, that's less than you would do if you completed the certificate independent of your MSW. For example, the Trauma Informed Care certificate is 15 credits. However, when you pair it with your MSW, we are able to double count 7 of those credits, and you end up only doing an additional 8 credits. Another benefit of joining one of these certificates with your MSW is that you are able to use financial aid for these additional credits. When students enroll in a certificate without being a degree-seeking student, they must pay out of pocket. If you have more questions about these certificates or choosing your concentration, please reach out for help. Last but not least, I would like to briefly mention that instructors in the social work department will require that papers are written in an APA writing style or American Psychological Association, which is the most common writing style used in social sciences. There are many resources online that you can use to further your knowledge of these expectations if you are unfamiliar. One such source commonly used is Purdue University's OWL, like the bird. Simply put, these are the rules that you'll use for writing, formatting, and documenting sources for the papers that you write. It's extremely important to make sure you are citing your sources for any ideas, thoughts, or quotes that may not be your own. UWM takes plagiarism very seriously, and it would be best to avoid the appearance of taking ideas without properly citing them. I would like to thank you for taking the time to watch this portion of the presentation. I know this is a lot of information to take in, so hopefully you were able to jot down some notes. Please refer to our website as well as the new ADMIT website for any further information you need. As always, we're here to help however we can. Feel free to contact us at the email addresses you see listed on the screen. Next up, Amy Kirby will provide you with some information on the field placement process.